Would you like to begin a series of strategies that will propel you into achieving personal mastery? Do you desire to have breakthroughs in unlocking your potential? Do you seek to live a life that is full of joy, peace, and happiness? Each week, join Charles and Demetrius as they share tools and strategies that will help you take control of your life so you can live a life of peace, joy, and abundance. Now, here are your hosts, Charles and Demetrius.
And welcome back to another episode of Inner Success Radio. This is Chuck alongside Billionaire Brown for another exciting show. What's going on, Demetrius? How you doing, man?
Everything's going on, Charles. I see you on Facebook, man. I saw your Facebook Live.
Oh, you saw it? Yeah. That was completely random. I didn't even plan on doing that. Else when it's one of them random things. Got a lot of good feedback from it, actually.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into that Facebook Live too. I do it every once in a while, but it's definitely a great tool. How did you like it?
It was good. You know, I mean, it's not the first time I think that was the first time I did a Facebook Live just by myself. But yeah, man, it's pretty cool, pretty easy. So if you're looking to get with the Facebook Live, I definitely suggest getting started right now.
All right. I can't wait till they do it on a computer, though. I hate the fact you got to do it on a tablet or a phone.
Yeah, but well, you know, they're moving towards mobile now, man. A lot of people are going to be doing a lot of things from their mobile devices. I think people access their social media sites from their phone more than they do from a desktop.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting, man. The shift of the next several years is definitely going to be towards mobile. So.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. And I know you're pretty excited about our guest that's here with us today, Alexis. What are you so excited about having Alexis here, Charles?
I just want to hear her story. You know, her story is it's common and it's not talked about a lot. So, really excited to hear her journey and how she's got to where she is today. So, Alexis, how you doing today?
All is well with me and my home.
You and your home.
You and your home, right?
All is well.
We're excited that you decided to come on and share with us. But before we get into the good stuff, Demetrius, go ahead and take us away with
this is the good stuff. The question is the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm talking about
we gotta wait until the good stuff. Can't this be good?
The meat, but this is not. I'm talking about the meat and potatoes. This is the appetizer.
Oh, this
question of the thing. It's the appetizer. What Alexis is going to talk about. That's the meat and potatoes.
All right, that's good. So, all right, let's go with the question. The question of the day is we've asked this before, but I wanted to revisit it again. It's a conversation that can go on for a lifetime, but I also think it's important for us to think about on a daily basis. So, it goes like this: Steve Jobs is known for the quote or, coining the phrase, all he wanted to do is to put a ding in the universe. Okay, so my question for you, for everybody is, what is the ding that you're going to put in the universe? All right, what is the ding that you're going to put in the universe? For those of you that are listening to us in the gym, on the treadmill, and we never forget about those of you that listen to us on your way to work. All right, but you can't write down the question. So again, the question is, Steve Jobs coined the phrase, put a ding in the universe. What is the ding that you're going to put in the universe, Charles?
We're actually doing that now as we, record this podcast, and the vision that we speak about for the podcast, just putting out these inspirational messages, bringing on these inspiring guests like Alexis, and just pretty much combating the negativity that's out there, because there's a lot of it, man. Every time you open up Facebook or Twitter, there's always some type of negative thing going through the feed. But if we continue to push this type of material out into the world, we definitely make a positive difference. So I would say with this podcast, this is going to be my particular ding for the universe.
All right, and they say the podcast is the new wave, man. It's been out for a while, but it's picking up more than ever. You can't, do you realize how many people don't even know what a podcast is right now?
It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Like they never even heard of it.
But that's going to change. With the smart cars, they're actually installing a podcast app right on their dashboard. So if they don't know what it is, then people are going to start finding out what podcasts are, and they're saying it's going to replace mainstream radio.
Yeah, if it hasn't already, man. So
Yeah.
that's definitely dope. The thing that you're gonna put in the universe there. Let's go over to Alexis. Alexis, the same question goes for you. We're talking about the phrase that Steve Jobs coined, which is putting a ding in the universe. What's the ding that you want to put in the universe, Alexis?
I intend to be an influential woman that's realistic and has been transparent about the things that I've been through in life, and to give back to those, to touch those who feel as though Hollywood based women or women that they see on TV are so far fetched that they're not like them. I want to set the example that there is someone here like you, and they actually care about the things that you're going through, and they actually want you to be a better woman and to be in a better place in your life. So that's the thing that I wish to leave on the world.
All right, that's what's up. So you got it. You're really for empowering women and setting a great example for girls to follow behind you, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not something that I'm just talking about. It's something that I've lived through. It's something that I've been doing for quite some time, where I've been, giving back and speaking to young girls. But now more than ever, because I see that there is a need. So many girls are just being misguided, misled. Good women are being underrepresented in media and mainstream media, with values, integrity, morals, and beliefs. So I'm definitely here to say, yes, things happen, and bad things happen to good people whether you're looking for it or not, but that doesn't stop you from being the best person that you can be.
Wow. I like that. I like where this is heading. All right. So here's let me get mines out of the way so we could go ahead and get to the meat and the potatoes, as Charles said. Um, the thing that I would like to put in the universe is, I want to be the guy that was responsible for bringing the industry of personal development to the mainstream. And, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Let's get to the good stuff, Charles.
All right. So, Alexis Nicole's Alexa. I don't know. For some reason, I was going to say Smith. I have no idea why. Alexis Nicole White is an entrepreneur, author, and inspirational speaker. As a graduate of Purdue University, Alexis dreamed of climbing the corporate ladder. However, life and relationship experience have birthed another passion in Alexis. Today, she's a writer and a speaker, and she's passionate about raising awareness about emotional abuse in relationships. Her memoir, The Covered, highlights her journey with experiencing emotional abuse and how she survived and thrived. Her goal is to help other women, young and old, do the same, is to survive and thrive. Alexis, with that brief bio, can you give us a little bit more insight into who Alexis is, how you ended up on this journey, and a little bit more about your business?
Well, sure. Alexis Nicole White is an interesting person. If I had to talk about myself in third person, I am definitely interesting. I'm no nonsense, straight to the point, still vulnerable, still make a lot of mistakes, still learning from the mistakes and desiring to be better. And with that being said, I've looked at my life and I've looked at different people and how they're perceived based on situations and circumstances that they find themselves in, and the perception that people have about people when they go through things or they've been subjected to things. And it started with me basically seeing that people are not being treated fairly, in situations. We assume the worst about people, and not that it might have just been an isolated incident, or it might have just been an accident, or whatever, other way of looking at the situation, but we always assume the worst. So I decided to write my book to talk about that, and kind of shifted my whole business from helping small to medium sized businesses to actually reaching out to the people who are being employed, because the way that you view yourself personally reflects in your professional life. And if you're not happy with your personal life, it's kind of hard to excel and thrive professionally. And people bring those negative behaviors not only from home to work, but they take them from work back home. So, I thought about it and I was like, this is something that is very warranted. It's very needed, where people have to have an outlet to say, you know what, I've made some mistakes. I think I've been subjecting myself to some things, or that I'm noticing that I have some behaviors that can be corrected, so that they can modify the maximum and get the maximum out of their life, and not just be going through the motions with things in life, as most of us do.
Have you always had the entrepreneurial bug? Because sometimes people are just they come out the womb and there are these there's kids that are starting businesses at 3 or 4 years old, but then on the other hand, you have people who at one point in their lives, whether they're in college or they're at work one day and they get hit with this entrepreneurial bug. Have you always had that, or did something happen, or was there a distinct moment in your life where you wanted to venture into entrepreneurship?
Honestly, no. What ended up happening to me was I was working for a large telecommunication company, and I saw over the years that they were starting to downsize, and inevitably it happened while I was 9 months pregnant and due with my baby.
Oh wow.
So I actually I did try to go back into corporate America. I interviewed several different places, and for whatever reason, the opportunities just did not materialize. And so, everybody kept saying to me, well, why don't you just start your own business? I'm like, okay, but doing what though? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so I sat there really analyzing what could I do that would be impactful? What could I create that would be in enough demand that it will supply it, and just to be able to make money from it to generate a profit. And so I did start my business because of that, because I was like, you know what? I'm not going back to corporate America. I just enjoy my freedom way too much. Like just being able to do what I needed to do, wear jeans if I wanted to, whatever it was that I wanted to do for that day, I was able to do it. And it really, struck me as being something that I now understand that everybody, it's not that they don't understand it. Some people just don't have the discipline that it takes. Sometimes it's the stamina and endurance that it takes to be an entrepreneur. You're going to hit a lot of brick walls, but that's the difference between those who employ and those who are the employees. So, and I don't take away from anyone who's being an employee either, because we need people to run our businesses.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it was a sharp learning lesson that I had to learn quickly and smoothly. But now that I've ventured into that lane, I don't think that I would ever go back to corporate America.
Yeah. And you said something very distinctive. You said that you valued your time freedom. So I want to ask you a question to see if you agree with
Mhm.
it or not. I read a book. I forgot the name of the book about entrepreneurship, and the guy said in the book he mentioned the top five wrong reasons to start a business, and or to go into entrepreneurship, and one of them was for the money. if
Right.
if you if you go into entrepreneurship solely based on the fact that you're going to make a whole lot of money, then it's I forgot how he broke it down, but it just that's not going to work, right? It has to be more than the money. But
Uh,
something like time freedom, that's something that you value, something that I value. I think we all at one point in a time value time freedom. So uh, do you agree with that? The fact that people shouldn't venture into entrepreneurship solely based on making a whole lot of money?
Oh, absolutely, because you're not going to make money right away. And I
Yeah.
think statistically speaking, those who are entrepreneurs, less than 11% I saw make over 100,000 a year. I mean, make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
So, you really have to be dedicated and empowered to run your business because it's a passion, because it's a dream of yours, because it's something that if you don't make any money from it the first 6 months, you can still get up every day and keep on going. That's something that we need to be mindful of, because a lot of people don't have that ambition. A lot of people are not able to do that, and that's what makes it unique, because again, it's something that's not going to be immediately profitable to you right away. And most people don't want to accept that. You think that when you become your own boss, I ain't got to answer to nobody. No, but you still got to have discipline. So you have to answer to yourself. You
Yeah.
still have to get up every day and do what is required. You need to still do the work. You need to still be proactive. You need to still follow up. And there's some skills that you're going to have to learn how to master, that if you didn't know how to master as an employee, you're going to have to definitely learn as the boss.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You are the face of the company. And what you say and do isn't indicative of your company. It's a representation of your company. So it's a whole different ball game. When I was working at, in corporate, and I go home at 4 o'clock, I can do whatever the heck I want to do. I can post all the nasty posts I want to post on Facebook. I can dog
Yeah.
people out. I can have an attitude and call people outside of their names in Kroger if I wanted to. But now, as a boss, I have to be mindful that somebody is always watching me. And I never know when or where I am going to meet my next client. So I
Yeah.
need to be mindful that I can't just be flying off the handle all the time. Even on Twitter, I get into these Twitter wars where people, I have trolls now because I like the view. And so people like stalk the hashtag to see what we're talking about. And I have
Yeah.
my own little clique of people that we have a conversation with every day. But guess what? When they troll me and say negative things to me, I don't want to bounce back and say something stupid. I really do. But then I have to be mindful.
Yeah.
You're a public figure. People will screenshot this and pass it around and it will go viral. You know, you just have to think like that. And we don't like to think like that. So again, if you're going into it for money, if you're going into it for fame and all that stuff, then you are definitely doing it for all of the wrong reasons.
And that reminded me, you remember exactly what she was talking about, Charles, when we were setting up for the formal bash that we had in New Jersey a couple weeks ago. You remember we was in, I think that was one of those department stores we was in. Might have been like Marshall's or something. Yeah. And remember, we were walking around the corner and we almost hit that lady, her kid.
Yeah.
And she said something real nasty. Like I think you barely touched the kid, right?
Yeah, I stopped. And
barely.
I and she just flipped out.
She flipped out, and she's like, you know, she gets all angry, and then, you know, I was like, oh, well, we apologize so much, you know, have a great day. Yeah. And Charles made the statement. He's like, well, you sound, man, that's way better than me. And I'm just like, well, she could. I think I was joking. I was like, well, she could be one of the people that come to our event in a couple hours. Yeah. So it was. That's totally true. Everything that you said. And now business. I don't have any business questions for you today, Alexis. I have some selfish questions about this relationship stuff, and because I don't know nothing about it, and I need some help. All right. So. My first question is, on your website, you had something, one of the healthy things. You have this beautiful chart about healthy relationships, unhealthy, and the other category is abusive. I'm on alexisnicolewhite.com. All right, so you mentioned one of the things for a healthy relationship is you said you value each other as you are. And the title for that was respectful. Here's my selfish question. I have a lot of debates with some of my friends, business partners, and colleagues, and we always are curious to know, and I'll just use Obama as an example, okay? President Obama. So, what is it? You value each other as you are. Now, here's the debate that maybe you can help me out with. When you're saying this as a healthy relationship, I'm a guy, so I'm not going to use a woman in that example. I'm going to say, listen, if I believe that I'm going to be a president of the United States, right? I believe I'm going to be a president of the United States. I'm a firm believer that Barack is nothing without Michelle, and I believe there's something special with Michelle. My belief is that Michelle, all through their journey, she treated him as if he was going to be the president, as opposed to you have another relationship he was in that didn't work out, where the young lady, she treated him as who he was right then and all the flaws and things that she couldn't see beyond. What is your take on that when you said that? Could you expound on that respectful one a little bit?
Sure. I absolutely agree with you. That's one of the things that I educate women on, is to understand that people will have flaws. I don't know where we come up in our minds that Mr. or Mrs. Right are going to be all that in a bag of chips 99.99% of the time, because they're not. What we should be mindful of is that people grow and mature if you allow them to grow and mature. And yes, there's going to be things about them that is going to get on your everlasting cotton picking nerves. It will. I mean, that's just what it is. But also, you nagging them is not going to change it either. It's not going to influence their behavior modification to make you feel better. Maybe they're more conscientious of it. But some things are just innate in people, and they're just bad habits that they have. They don't even realize that they're doing it. And even if they're trying to be conscientious of it, it's still not going to change it, because they're subconsciously still going to do it. So what I mean by that is, we need to accept people for who they are, good or bad, indifferent, or similarities. And that's something that a lot of us don't do. I commend Michelle, because I can't say that I probably would have been so flexible, given, and I'm just being honest, I've probably been like, what? I don't know if you guys saw the movie Southside with you, but it's real cute. It talks about how they made it to their first date. And it was a lot of things about him that she did not like. And, is one of them, for example, was the fact that he was a chain smoker. And she got in the car and he tried to spray the air to get it out. But when she got in the car, she smelled it. She was like, ugh, you know what I mean? Because that wasn't her. But guess what? She accepted him for who he is. And that's a respectful thing. You know what I mean? Now, I can't say what their conversations were like behind closed doors about it or whatever. Probably would have turned me off. But guess what? She allowed him space and room to mature and to grow. And now, to my understanding, he doesn't smoke anymore. Now, it may have taken 20 years to get him to that point, but she respected him enough to give him that time to grow and to mature.
Okay, so because there's a flip side to that, right? And I'm pretty sure you talk about it in your, your sessions and things of that nature. But there is a flip side to it. My sister's ex-boyfriend, right? It was the same thing. I love him to death. I still do, right? He's a great, incredible guy. But we're talking about a healthy relationship here, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to be doing something, whether it's the women or the guy. We have to be doing something towards, like Barack Obama. Okay, let's say he told her, hey, I'm going to be president, right? And whatever the case is, but he had to be doing, shouldn't we be doing something to give our partner an opportunity to believe it more, or to make it easier for them to see us? Because he wasn't, some people are saying they want to do this or they want to do that, but they're not doing anything like today. And it doesn't give, in my opinion, it doesn't give the other partner, the other person, an opportunity to actually be believing it. What's your take on that, on the flip side of it, where you're not doing it, but you want somebody to, accept it or respect it as it is?
Well, here's the thing. I use them as an example as well, because when Michelle met Barack, he was still doing local officiating things in politics.
Sure.
So maybe at that point in time, he was not looking to be the president. I don't even think at that time he was looking to be the senator. He was just working at a law firm, to be exact. Mm-hmm. But she saw something in him that showed that he was good at what he did. I really encourage you guys to go look at the movie, because y'all not gonna really get what I'm saying.
What is it called?
Southside with You.
Southside, yeah.
Yeah, it's about the first date that they ever went on that, of course, changes history. But you'll see Michelle had all her ducks in a row. He had a hole in the roof, the floor of his car. He was a chain smoker. Like, he was real slick talking, and she was just like, "This ain't no date." Like, it's the epitome of what we're talking about. But this is what gets me with people. I can support your dreams if you're tangibly working towards it. What I can't support is you just dreaming and you just talking about it and not being about it. That's where the difference comes in. So, to answer your question, when you say that, yes, we should see something, not everything is going to be visible. You know what I mean? I'm not with you 24 hours a day to see what you're reading on the internet. You can be playing Sudokus in the newspaper. You can be on Facebook, watching people Facebook Live at the polling branch. I don't know, whatever you choose to do. But at the end of the day, I need to be able to hear some progress. Where if you want to own your own business, okay, and you're saying, well, I know I need X amount of dollars to start up. Okay, maybe you're budgeting and you're cutting back. Maybe you're not eating lunch out at work 5 days a week. Maybe you're only reserving that for payday every 2 weeks, and you're packing your lunch. So even though I may not see you eating your lunch every day, that's a difference that I see in your behavior. You see what I'm saying? That makes me want to actually be supportive of what it is that you're trying to do. But you're right. A lot of people don't. A lot of people just say, oh, I'm going to do this. And they don't take not 1/2 of a centimeter towards their goals. And then you get angry when no one's supporting you. But what are you doing to warrant the support? So when people find themselves in a situation, I always encourage them to really just think long and hard, period, about the people in your life and what it is that they're trying to do. Because becoming an entrepreneur is no joke. It is stressful, period. It's going to always be stressful because you are a business owner. It's not something that you could just clock in and out of. Most entrepreneurs work 7 days a week. They're working 24 hours a day. They're not sleeping. They're not going on vacations. They're not honeymooning. I mean, they're just not doing a lot of things, because if you stop working as the boss, you stop making money as the recipient. You see what I'm saying? So it's very important that you find out for yourself whether or not you can be supportive of somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur or wants to be in politics or wants to do anything. Heck, you could be trying to be the CEO of a company, but at the end of the day, you need that support around you while you're building to make it to that point. Whether the process is tangible to the eye or not. Support is everything. And if you're not the type of person to be patient and to offer support to your loved ones, maybe that's not the mate that you need to be investing in.
Wow.
Yeah, that's huge. That's really huge, and I agree with you 100%, Alexis. That support is 100% required. And if especially if you realize that your partner has this dream of being an entrepreneur, and like you said, if you see as long as they're making strides towards it, then yeah, I'm all for supporting it. But if they keep saying it but they're sitting down watching 10 hours of Netflix every day, then that's a different story, right? You're saying you want to be an entrepreneur, but your actions show something different. So I really agree with you. I'm glad that you mentioned that. Um, so and I don't know if this stat is still true, but they're saying that the number one reason why relationships fail is because of finances.
Mhm.
However, I kind of disagree with that. I'll say the number one reason why relationships fail is because of communication. Because if the finances are in order, but you're not communicating, then eventually the finances will probably get out of order. But if you're both communicating and the finances aren't in order, you have a better chance of getting the finances in order. So, do you agree with that, or do you disagree, or what's your take on that, the communication and finance thing within relationships?
I agree with your perspective. I also understand why finances is a big burden. Because think about it, our gender roles are very much so codependent on what we can do financially. What I mean by that is a man is a provider, period. So if a man doesn't have the money to provide, his whole mood goes downhill. He's funky, he's irritable. Chances are you're not going to be having sex, so you're not happy in a relationship because of that. He's not taking you out anymore because he doesn't have the money. He's worried about
Mhm.
paying the bills and so forth. Likewise, when a mother can't provide for her children, that creates tension. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not so much as about the communication piece because it could be a clear understanding. We're cutting back because my spouse is opening a business. We're cutting back because we're trying to open a business. We're cutting back because my spouse was laid off. Whatever your reason, we're trying to buy a house, okay? Even if it's, two people going to work every day, we're trying to buy a home. Even though that can be understood, the stress of not having freedom is what creates arguments, constant chaos, and confusion. Because if you're not sitting down and going over those bills each and every month and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to be responsible for taking care of, this is what you're responsible for taking care of. That's how I grew up.
Mhm.
And when I tell you there were no arguments about money, what there could have been, because let me tell you, my grandmother was a shopper. And I've seen her sneak many a clothes and fur coats and leather jackets and pants up into that house.
I know
And
that's
my grandfather was a provider. So he would stay up all night calculating bills in his head. He paid off the mortgage 3 times, paid off all the credit cards
right.
3 times. And here she is still shopping. But guess
Mhm.
what? Every month, you know what they did? They sat down at the kitchen table, they pulled out every bill, and my grandfather paid all the household bills. So that was the mortgage and the utilities. My grandmother's responsibility was to pay for the cable because she had to have cable, okay? And she had to pay for the phone bill because she was the only person who used the phone. And then she paid for her credit cards. So that's how they triggered that. So if you want to keep running them up, you're going to pay for it. And that was the problem solver there. You know what I mean? But everybody doesn't have that. Think about it. Most people are not even sitting at the dinner table anymore to have dinner together, much less calculate bills together. People are not looking at credit scores together unless they're looking to make a bigger purchase. Or you're not even looking at what you're putting or not putting in savings because you have a household account and you have your separate account. So my point in saying all that is it's easy to hide things. It's easy to not discuss things because the way people are doing things, everything is online now. So bills are not coming to the house. So you can have a bill that you supposed to be a credit card bill that you supposed to be paying off, and instead of you paying it off, you like, I'm gonna go buy these J's, I'm gonna put some money on a new car, and you went to go get an oil change, you come back in a brand new Benz. Like it's possible. You know what I mean? And so now it's like, but I thought we didn't have no money and you riding around in the new Benz. And I know y'all laughing, but this happens every day in relationships.
hmm
So, my point in saying all that is I definitely think and agree with you that if we are open in communication, if we're transparent, not only about what our personal needs and wants are financially, career wise, whatever it is, If we're transparent about that, then we can collectively create a destination where we both can be happy with and say, you know what, this new house is really important to me. So instead of me going to the nail salon every 2 weeks, I'm just going to go once a month and put that extra money. Instead of me going out to lunch every day with my coworkers, I'm just going to put that money here. Instead of me buying a new Louboutins and a new Louis Vuitton bag, I'm going to put that money in our household savings account so that we can buy the house that we want. So my point in saying all that is to find a common goal that you and your mate can relate to and look forward to, and maybe that would inspire you guys to work together to achieve that goal.
I'm gonna mix things up a little bit here, Alexis. We know that the divorce rate is sky high, over 50%, and they haven't identified the reason why. Like they'll come up with these statistics, saying, well, if finances or communication or the one spouse is cheating, but one of the things that I always struggle with is the fact that how do we allow ourselves to get into these relationships that eventually end up in divorce? Like, are we entering to these relationships based on the wrong ideas and philosophies of what a relationship is, or is there some other underlying issue, or is entering a relationship based off love? Because from what I understand, I think back in antiquity, marriages and relationships weren't solely based on love, right? It was more so of a wealth, I guess, a wealth protector, where the spouses were getting together so they can keep the wealth within the family. And then, of course, we started seeing a transition into love-based relationships. Is there any truth in that premise at all, or am I completely way off?
I think it's more so that people forget to maintain their grass.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, back in the day, people, you're right, they didn't get together for love, but they grew to love their mate.
Yeah.
And they believed in their mate. They stayed with their mate for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're all about love at first sight. Woo. And then guess what? When you forget to nurture your grass, you grow apart from your mate. So now they're looking more attracted to the person at work, the person that's noticing them, the person that's complimenting them, the person who's doing all that you used to do and stopped.
Yeah.
Whether it's having sex 3 or 4 times a week, whatever, complimenting them, packing their lunch, catering to them, surprising them, whatever your thing is with your person. You see what I'm saying? People stop doing it. And that leaves room for your mate to wander and grow apart and to look for what you used to do in new people. Unfortunately, it's the wrong thing, because no matter where you look, the grass is only going to be as green as you maintain it. So whereas we look at other people to see what their marriage is looking like, and we get all this pressure from, no, I've been married 20 years. I've been married 10. Good for you, honey child. I don't want to know what fertilizer you putting on that grass to keep it green. Good for you. Because that's what works for y'all. But instead of comparison your marriage to someone else, compare your marriage where you are now from where you started. Look to see how far you guys have grown. Look to see if you're still growing. Are you still arguing about the same thing or not? Are the arguments or disagreements becoming so more intense to where you hate that person? Have considered trying to get counseling. Let's just start there. Because sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I could be saying the same thing 10 times the same way and you not hear it. But a counselor can sit there and say, what I'm hearing you say is X, Y, and Z. And now it makes all the sense. You see what I'm saying? So many times we're just looking for an easy way out. I'm done. Here's the kids and the dog. Bye. That's what we're doing. And it's not right. You know what I mean? We're not even giving our mates the benefit of the doubt. We're not giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt. Let's be honest. No one likes to feel uncomfortable. But when you're going through hardships and adversity, it's going to always be uncomfortable. You know why? Because you got to grow from it. So if we grow with our mates and we give ourselves the space and opportunity to mature and to grow, we'll all be happy and successful. But we got to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt first.
All right. So before I ask my question, I'm on alexisnicolewhite.com again, right? And I've been stuck here since I've seen. I just keep going back and forth. Like, does this pertain to me or is it not? Is this me? Is it not? Which is really cool because you put it in real detail with these types of relationships. before I ask my question, where does this have to do with what you do? Let us know that. What is the types of relationship and why you spent so much time putting this chart together have to do? Like, is this coaching or is these seminars or sessions that you have? Why did you decide to put this on your page?
Because when I talk to people, they don't know, they have no point of reference. You think about it. Many of us don't really have, I mean, we just said that the divorce rates are over 50%. When we're talking about the quality of relationships, how many of us can really identify what we perceive to be a quality relationship? Now, if we want to look at Barack and Michelle as an example again, absolutely, I would say I believe that to be a quality relationship. I perceive that they've learned whatever it takes for their marriage to work, that they support each other, blah, 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 whatever that perception is. Okay. But honestly, most of us don't have realistic examples, not even a generation ahead of us. If we look in our families, it's not our parents. It may be our grandparents, but that's questionable, depending on your family history. Some people may not. So when I talk to women about quality relationships, and I emphasize quality because many sacrifice the quality for the quantity. What I mean by that is you rather have a piece of a man that you allow him to talk to you, treat you, disrespect you, do whatever he's doing to you, rather than to be alone and wait for a quality man to come along.
She said quality. I love it.
But that's what it's about. So instead of you doing that and waiting for a quality relationship, you would rather have a piece of a man to say, I have one man over no man. So that's why I wrote it out. So that when I'm talking to people and when people call me and ask me for advice and want me to vent and try to fix their life and whatever it is they want me to do, I try to make sure that I'm very clear as to what I'm defining as a healthy, unhealthy, and abusive relationship, because many of us don't know what that is. When it comes down to emotionally abusive situations, it's so vague. It's an umbrella. It's a plethora of things that encompass the umbrella of an emotionally abusive situation. So I can give you examples and you can say, oh my God, that's happened to me, because 9 times out of 10, it has happened to you. You know why? Because many of us are not exposed to quality, healthy relationships. And it's not just from a male to female perspective. It's a friendship. It's a co-working relationship. It's life. And that's what makes this so important to emphasize when I'm having conversations with people, that we need to get real and very real. And what I mean by that is sensitive to who we sow into, who we allow in our space, and what we feed our energy to. Because many of us are entertaining a lot of things that is pulling us so far away from our purpose that we waste so many years of our life trying to fix other folks instead of just saying, you know what, I don't believe that this is good for me and I'm cool with walking away.
Wow. And the question that I wanted to really ask you, now that I understand that, is you mentioned like the generational thing. We have a point of reference, like it may not be our parents, maybe our grandparents, it may be whoever, right? And for me, it was because I grew up with a single, mom for a long time. And for me, it was one of my best friends, Jaron, right? I was the best man at his wedding. And, and as you said that, his parents were the same way as him, right? And I learned a lot from him and his wife's relationship, well, their marriage. And the one thing that I've always recognized them as they grew and developed as a quality relationship is that one of these things you put in here, it says, for unhealthy, you said, only spending time with your partner. Your partner's community is the only one you socialize in. One of the things that I take from his relationship as well as his parents is that they were always connecting with other people. Like they were always interacting with other people. And I developed that. And I've had some relationships where that wasn't the truth. And I've had some relationships where it is the truth. And what I know now about the relationship I'm in now is that when we go out and communicate with other people, it's exciting, right? It gives a whole new it gives a whole new level of, I guess, communicating, like Charles said. Why did you feel the need to be so specific as far as that? Because I learned that from seeing it from other people I look up to as far as relationships. But what stood out to the point where you say, I have to put this in here as a point of reference for people to know where I'm coming from?
Well, the reason why I did that is because a healthy relationship should foster a level where you can go outside of your mate to have a communication and to enjoy your life with. The problem is that some people don't feel comfortable with that, and that's what makes that unhealthy. So when I say the community, it's not that you have to be, oh, I'm Jared's wife, and you can't be friends with anyone that I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't have to be friends with them, but I should at least know of them. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be a secret. So if you start coming home talking about Elizabeth, I'm looking at you like, who the heck is Elizabeth? You know what I mean? So, I'm inviting you to expand. I'm inviting you to have friends and to have a life of your own that's independent of me. We should have a codependent life and you should have an independent life. But I think out of respect, especially on a marriage level, you should definitely have a point of reference when we're talking about Elizabeth. I shouldn't be like, who is Elizabeth? You know what I mean? Like,
Becky with the good hair. Who's that?
right. Because you think about it, we live in a world where it's not like you have to call the house phone. And if I answer, I got to talk to Elizabeth. If you want to just ask Elizabeth, what was that favorite popcorn spot she told you about before, you can just text her directly. That opens up an opportunity for an inappropriate relationship to start. Because if she had eyes for you, she can have a whole conversation with you that I don't know anything about. So that's why I say within your partner's community, we need to know what's going on. And we need to trust each other to allow you to have your freedom that I'm comfortable with, and that I can have my freedom that you're comfortable with. But that's the parameter that it is. Some people have mates that don't like none of that. They shutting it all down. You can't even call your mama without them being present. And obviously that is an unhealthy, toxic relationship.
Well, to say but you also mentioned that each relationship is different, right? That's theirs. This is ours. There's no comparison. Let's not compare their relationship to ours. So, are you really saying that there should be a few boundaries there should be a few boundaries, and there's no, well, he doesn't let her out the house to do, exercise, not to go to the gym, not to get nothing to eat, no nothing. And so that's a standard. Like, you shouldn't be in a relationship where they're saying, no, you cannot leave the house at all.
Right. I'm saying we set the tones for how our relationships work. We come together. I have individual boundaries. You have an individual boundary, and collectively we create a couple's boundary. So something I may not feel comfortable with, I could say, you know what? I don't like it if you do that. Okay, but you have the right to say whether or not you're going to comply with that. You see what I'm saying? So we're not going to do something because, oh, Aunt Mary at the church, she said we need to date like this, we need to court like this, we need to get married like this. Don't compare apples to oranges, because at the end of the day, people give you so much advice on how to make your relationship work. They're forgetting that I'm my own person. Your mate is their own person. What may work for us may not work for somebody else. But you have the right to set the tone for what your boundary will be, what you will agree to, what you will not agree to. And you guys collectively create boundaries as a couple as to what you will and will not do. But don't compare because somebody told you that you can make it 30 years being married if you just do things that way, because you don't know what those personalities are like. You don't understand what the dynamics of the relationship is. Maybe this is a passive person over here where they like somebody cutting up their food and chewing it up for them and putting it in a blender, whatever it is. That may not work for you because that's not who you are as a person. So that's what I mean by that. You have to figure out what works best for you. You set the tone for what you will allow and what you will not allow. And if you're not comfortable with that, don't move forward. It's kind of cookie cut. Like, just don't do it. If something makes you feel uncomfortable, if it raised that little hair on the back of your neck and you see things that are just not normal, don't sound normal, don't sound sane, follow those instincts, because it is something in you telling you that this is something that's not going to be beneficial or healthy to you in the long run.
Yeah. But Alexis, aren't there like uh, universal principles or values that can be applied to each relationship, or even down to the value level is different from relationship to relationship?
It's different because, and that's the reason why I don't like people like Steve Harvey giving out advice,
Hmm.
because all these women have taken his advice thinking that if you do certain things, it's a guarantee for success. There is no parameter for what will get you to be in a successful relationship. You determine that. The people that you interact with determine whether or not you're going to be successful. What I mean by that is a lot of women are saying, oh, I'm going to do this 90-day rule and we're going to make it 90 days. And
Oh
if
my
we don't have
gosh.
sex, then I'm going to get married to him. BS. You can wait
Yeah.
163 days. You can wait 900, 500, 1,009 days. If he's not willing to put a ring on it and marry you having behavior modification and saying, well, if I'm not putting out, he's going to put a ring on it. That's not going to make him marry you.
Yeah.
He's just going to play the game with you because he thinks it's entertaining. It's a game. It's a cat and mouse game at that point. It's entertainment. That doesn't mean that he likes you no much more than a girl that he met the first night and had sex with. Because guess what? There are people who didn't play that game and they're still married 20, 30 years down the line and they still doing their thing and enjoying life. Meanwhile, you still reading all these Steve Harvey books thinking that if you do certain things, you're finally going to get married. That's not what it's about. If you choose to not have sex because that's where you are in your life, and you meet someone else like Megan Good and her husband, and he was on that same thing, it worked for them because that's what they were in their lives. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So
Mm.
it's not her playing this game where it's just like, oh, I read Steve Harvey's book and he said if I don't have sex, I can meet my husband. She made up in her mind that's what she was going to do. And that was because that's what made her feel more comfortable about who she was, where she was, and what she wanted out of life. That's why that worked for her. Not because of some universal law and principle that's saying if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. That's where I see a lot of women going wrong, is that we think that if we apply all of this wisdom that's out there to us, and it may go against the grain of who we are.
Yeah.
And then we're miserable because we still lonely. It's been 6 years. You still ain't got a man. So that's why I say do what works best for you. You set the tone for what it is that you're going to get and receive out of a relationship. And we need to be honest about that. And honestly, a lot of women are not honest. A lot of men are very honest. They're very straightforward. They're telling you exactly what they want you to know. They're telling you exactly what they want you to hear. But we're so in la la land, we think we all have magical punani and we're just going to change their philosophy. It doesn't work like that. Then we're mad and disappointed because we believed you, Steve, and you still ain't got nothing. But meanwhile, he got all your money and he gone in Hollywood riding off in the sunset with your money. So that's why I say that.
Think like a man and end up without one, they say.
Yeah, pretty much. Because it's not about what you do. You know what I mean? In terms of behavior modification, it's not about all these rules and boundaries that you create. It's all about attracting and being attracted to what you are attracted to. That's what it is. So if a man really admires that a woman is not easily having sex or easily not going, he's going to like that about you and respect that about you. But the one who's sick of meeting 99 other girls that's trying to do the same thing because they tired of not getting nowhere, that's not going to influence him to marry you no faster than a man on the moon. It's just not going to happen.
Mm.
Yeah. You had just mentioned that men, we for the majority, most part, we speak what's in our minds, and women they'll say, well, you can just tell me how you feel, but then it's like when we do, it's like World War III, and eh, to give my background, so I've been in a relationship for 5 years. It's actually my first serious relationship. I'm 33, and the first 3 years were pretty solid, and then the last 2 years, we hit some bumps, some communication issues, but whenever she would say, "Hey, you can tell me how you feel," you don't ever speak up. But then when I do, it's just like I don't know if it comes out wrong on my end or the way it's communicated is like, you could have said it a little better.
No,
So
you
that's,
know what it is?
mm-hmm,
You're not saying what she wants to hear.
yeah,
That's really what it is. I don't know what the conversation is, but
mm-hmm,
what I've noticed is, and I'm just assuming,
yeah,
it's not being what she wants to hear, whatever the conversation is. If you're talking about getting married and you're just like, well, you can tell me how you feeling. If you're saying not right now because of X, Y, and Z,
yeah.
but when is going to be the right time? Oh my God, it's already 5 years. Like what, and it creates a hostile conversation. I'm just making something up because I don't know. But oftentimes miscommunication happens because we're listening to hear what we want to hear and we're listening to wean out what we don't want to hear. And then we're responding to what we thought we heard as opposed to what we actually heard. And we're responding to what we wanted to hear and what we did not hear. That's what we're responding to. And you're right. A lot of times we're saying that and we can't accept it. But there are times when men are saying from day one, these are my goals, these are my intentions. I do want to get married, just not right now. We think, oh, and if I hold on for the next 7 years, he'll propose to me eventually. Then you're mad because you wasted 10 and you're still not married to the man. Maybe it's not you. And then guess what happens? Classic syndrome. He leaves you alone. And guess what? The girl that he just met that he really likes, they ain't even been dating 3 months and they married 6 years, 6 months later, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have to be mindful that we need to listen genuinely and to hear. And if you're not hearing something correctly, we need to be able to ask questions, but it needs to be a not defensive and offensive conversation. It needs to be a conversation of understanding. And sometimes trying to get that understanding takes place once we have removed ourselves from the conversation, let it die down, and we revisit the conversation. And that's why I recommend people to go to counseling all the time because those are those conversations or things that can be getting missed and lost in translation because of whatever reason. But you just need that third party person there to hear to see if you have a valid complaint, if you have a valid issue, or are you just not hearing what is being said to you?
Yeah. That's huge. Yeah,
I,
that's so huge.
Yeah, it is. And so we have the book, The Covered, right? The Covered, and we could pick it up on alexisnicolewhite.com. Now, a lot of our listeners, I mean, Inner Success Radio, it's all about people come here for health, wealth, or inspiration. Okay. And it sounds like, in a sense, we're kind of threading them all together here in just our conversation. Now, but outside of the book, The Covered, specifically our entrepreneurs and specifically the women of our audience, what should they know about that they need to contact you for?
Make sure that no matter what you do, that you're operating with integrity and honesty, you're living and owning your truth, and that you're open to entertaining quality situations, no matter what it is, whether it's a relationship with an employer, whether it's a relationship with a friend, whether it's a relationship with a mate or a spouse or significant other or a girlfriend, whomever. Make sure that the quality is always there. Because if you invest in quality, sound, loving, fulfilling relationships that are full of love and integrity and honesty, the value is there. And when you have a person of value in your life, operating with you, you have so much more of a greater reward than when you're just willy-nilly in it, going with the flow, being friends with folks that you know are not feeding your spirit, people giving your service to your employer and they don't even appreciate you, they don't promote you, they're not looking to give any value. Make sure no matter what you do, because life is short. We are here in a blink of an eye. It's that temporary. Don't look back over your life or to have other people looking back over your life and saying, what did they do with their life? Because what you do with your time is a reflection of what you do with your life. Time is the one thing that we never get a chance to come back and undo. This moment, that word I just said, it'll be gone forever. I could say, dang, I could have said this or I should have did that. But this whole conversation, once I hang up the phone, is gone forever. And that's the hour of my life, whether I'm impressed with it or not, that I can't get back. You know what I mean? So it's definitely important that we understand the value of life, the value of healthy relationships, the value of integrity, and understand that those things never go out of style, ever.
Wow. All right. So you also see, I see on your website here, as seen on NBC, Women's Health, Cosmopolitan, Bustle, Livestrong.com, Women's Daily, Singles Warehouse. What does this mean as seen on TV? What does that mean?
Well, I've been on different TV shows. I've been quoted in different publications. I write actual articles that cater to singles and how to help them get from one place to another. So I've been on a lot of different places. I've done a lot of media and things like that, helping trying to get the message out. And I'm actually excited because there are a lot more people that's starting to speak out about emotional abusive situations. And we see it right now, unfortunately, with this presidential candidate that we have running for office. You know, just the verbal abuse, the attacks, how people can put down people and be so dismissive and just ugly towards people, and when I look at him, it's sad because I look at his character as being corrupt. I think he needs counseling. That's just my opinion. But you know, the conversation is starting to be had about how we as Americans have desensitized ourselves to the right things. We're so focused on material things that we're not taking care of us, or that we're subjecting ourselves mentally, emotionally, financially, sexually to people who are abusive towards us in one way or the other. And we need to really take better care of who we are. We take excellent care of our physiques. We'll drive 80 miles for a piece of fresh fish, that's wild cut, non-genetically modified,
Yeah.
but you won't even spend that much time trying to find a counselor or a psychotherapist or a psychologist that can help you overcome some things that you may have gone through in your life. Everybody's got something. Don't let a person lie to you and put on Instagram all these beautiful pictures and they make themselves look so phenomenal. And on the inside, they're rotten at the core. Everybody's got something that they've been through, whether it's childhood, teenage years, young adult, even as older seasoned adults, that we've been through things that we can really benefit from having some counseling, some psychotherapy, psychology, whatever. And oftentimes people frown upon it because they say, oh, it's so expensive. Yeah, it is expensive to get the help that you need. But at the end of the day, you would rather go buy a brand new Apple Watch and it's no different from the last watch you had. But you'll go buy that instead of investing in getting your life together so that you can be a quality person for somebody. So I'm really excited about getting the message out there to help people and to encourage them to understand that we need to take better, especially our mothers, because we have children who are looking up to us and they are very impressionable. And what they see us do and how they see us respond, even if they're not listening, they will regurgitate that same behaviors. And if we're telling them, you just like your daddy, I knew you weren't going to be nothing and this, that, and the third, they grow up feeling that way. And these are the same people that are insecure, that when they finally get a woman, they're abusing her boundaries. They're texting her 99 times in 5 minutes. What are you doing? Why didn't you answer me? I know you read my text message. I saw you read the message. It says that you read the message 5 minutes ago. Whatever it is that, people, the psychotic people in the world. But the point is that came from somewhere. And you don't even realize that you did it to your child. You have one shot to be a mother. You have one shot at being a father. Now, you may get that shot different with different children, but the overall point of the message is again, once this moment is gone, it's gone forever. So you have one shot to get it right. And if you're not right within you, what do you think you're doing for your children? What do you think that you're doing for the people that you work with when you're angry all the time because your husband's not doing what he's supposed to be doing? And so you're taking that anger and hostility to work. And now don't nobody at work want to eat with you in the cafeteria because all you do is start purging at the wrong place at the wrong time about what's going on in your life. So we need to take it serious. And that's why I put that up there to let people know that I'm not someone that just decided I wanted to speak to be famous, or I just want to make it to Housewives of Atlanta. None of that. I'm here to really raise awareness about what's happening to us. Why is this happening to us? And what can we really do to change it? And that's what it's all about. Leaving that wrinkle or that dink, whatever you said in the beginning, on the universe. When I'm long and gone, I want people to know that I really cared about our women, our children, our marriages, our spouses, whatever it is. I really care about that.
Wow. So I have just a two-part question. It's the last question, and then we're going to pass it over to Charles to get us out of here. Two-part question. I mean, this is, for one, I love your message. Okay. And I love that you're answering every single question. You're not just giving a shallow answer. You're actually giving us some depth with it. Right. So looking at this, I mean, all of the names that we just mentioned, that media platforms that you've been, blessed to be connected with. Right. Two-part question is this. What is a media platform that you would, maybe you even dream, maybe you tell people, or maybe you don't tell people, but deep down inside, what's a media platform that you would love to get your message out on? And the second thing is, what woman would you like to partner with or collaborate with that you haven't done that yet?
Ooh, I say this every day. I swear Oprah probably think I'm crazy.
I know that's
right. I am going to be on Super Soul Sunday. And I will be on Super Soul Sunday with my message because it's powerful. I'm not just picking something to make a quick buck scheme here. I'm saying this because this is something I lived, and I didn't know that I was doing it to other people or accepting intolerant of behaviors because I wasn't healed and delivered from negative situations that I was in or subjected myself to. I would love to be, and I will be, on every major network at some point in time. I will also be featured in every major African American publication. That has always been my dream. It goes back to when I was in high school and I wrote it down in my senior yearbook. I don't know why that came to me, but I wrote it down and I made it plain. And I'm telling you, I'm waiting for the vision to come about to where I can have that platform to just connect with people. I want to be the real person that don't get bougie and it's, ew, don't tweet me, ew, don't tag me on Instagram. No, I want to be that real person that if you reach out to me, I'm there to respond to you and I'm there to support you and I'm able to apply you with resources, tools, and tips that can benefit you. I'm not here just to take your money and go about my business and go buy Louis Vuitton and Chanel bags and spend a week at Cabo just because I feel like getting away. No, it's not about that. It's about really making a difference in somebody else's life to let them know you don't deserve it. You don't have to tolerate it. You don't have to accept it, and you deserve better.
All right, so my closing remarks would just be this, right? For our listeners specifically, is that in entrepreneurship, right? I've been blessed to be able to fire my boss when I was 28 years old. I'm 35 years old now, about to be 36 in a couple weeks, right? And throughout us bringing guests on this podcast, throughout just doing the daily course of business, as we know can all be hectic, I will share this with all of our listeners about Alexis. There's some entrepreneurs that you will come across. Like we said earlier, right? They're working for a paycheck. Then you have the other entrepreneurs who are working with a purpose. Alexis, I ask that question to probably hundreds of people every single month. And what I've realized with the most successful entrepreneurs that I know is that they know what they know, what they know, what they know. And for you to give such detail and to get so excited when we listen to this on the podcast, right, when it's aired, we're going to be like, wow, she didn't even take a second to say what she's working on. And that's one of my, things that I have as an entrepreneur they say real, recognize real. However you want to slice it, I know for a fact that all of those things that you just mentioned, you will accomplish. So just on behalf of us, as well as our listeners, we want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us. And with that being said, let's pass it over to Charles so he can get us out of here.
Perfect. Thanks, Demetrius. And Alexis, I agree with Demetrius 100%. I can just tell just by your answers that, you were as he said earlier, you answered all the questions, because we've had guests on in the past, and they would dance around the answer and they wouldn't give us a direct answer. But I can honestly say that with all of the questions that we asked you, you definitely answered them right on as to what we were looking for. So definitely applaud that, and thank you for doing that. Not only for for us, but also for the listening audience, because that's very important, especially you're in media, so you know how important it is to get the information out there. Um,
Oh,
where can people find you? Social media. I know I mentioned it throughout the call. Social media, website, and where can we get a copy of your book?
so you can come to my website at alexisnicolewhite.com. I offer tips, skills, resources, even professional help listed there for people who may need some help outside of my scope. I also am on Facebook at Alexis Nicole White. I am on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at I am Miss Alexis. I'm also on Google Plus, and you can purchase the covered Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million, and Amazon in paperback and ebook. And I'm excited to announce that I finally found a voice actress, so I will be bringing this book to audiobooks very soon, hopefully
Nice.
by the beginning of this year. So if you're one of those people that want to ride in your car and listen to the cover, I don't encourage you listening to it on your way to work, because you might be mad, but you can definitely listen to it on your way home if you want to have somebody that that can feel your pain. I definitely want you to listen to it. Maybe it'll help you on the treadmill if you're working out. You might get mad and start running a little bit faster. So
And that's huge, and that's a growing market. The audio book is definitely a growing market. So people that don't like to read, you can definitely listen to it. So as always, we'll have the links to all of your sites in the show notes, Alexis, when the show goes live, and people can have easy access to it. And of course, we'll promote it across all our social networks as well.
thank you so much for having me. I really did have a blast, and I thank you for just giving my message a platform to expand, to reach, and give your audience something to think about that they maybe did not think about. And I hope that it leaves a lasting impression, to where when they meet somebody or they start to pursue an endeavor or a business partnership or whatever, they might say, hey, is this a quality person that I could really benefit from,
Yeah,
and that I could sow into their life and they can sow into mine. So I'm so glad that my job here is done.
perfect. And I always end the show, Alexis, with a scenario. Uh,
Mhm.
so, and it's usually based off of the information that I pick up from within the interview. So we didn't talk a lot about the emotional abuse piece throughout this interview, uh, but the scenario that I did have is in relation to that. So say you're in a situation where you get the call, and this is a woman in a relationship. She's being emotionally abused by her spouse, and you go out to meet her at a Starbucks, right? So what what are some of the first things that you work with people who are being emotionally abused? Like, what's the if you can only tell her one thing, right? If you only had one thing that you can say to her, what would that one thing be?
If it's something that is creating a fear in your life, to where you're feeling uncomfortable, to where you find yourself creating subsequent anxieties, it's time to reevaluate how much you want to be in that relationship.
Perfect. Awesome. Again, Lester, thanks so much for coming on. And for all the listening audience, just remember to live each day to your fullest potential. And we'll talk to you next episode. Peace.
Woo!